एवरीवन, क्या आप भी इंटरनेशनल ट्रेड थ्योरी से डरते हैं? एडम स्मिथ, रिकार्डो और हेक्शर रोलिन के नाम सुनकर कंफ्यूजन होती है? डोंट वरी, आज की वीडियो में हम इंटरनेशनल ट्रेड के 50 सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट वाइवा क्वेश्चंस कवर करेंगे एकदम सिंपल लैंग्वेज में। चाहे वो रेसिप्रोकल डिमांड हो या ऑफर कर्व्स, सब कुछ मक्खन की तरह क्लियर होने वाला है। अगर आप एग्जाम से वाइवा के लिए प्रिपेयर कर रहे हैं तो ये वीडियो एंड तक ज़रूर देखना। चलिए शुरू करते हैं। Question 1. What is the international trade? It is the exchange of goods and services across national borders or territories. Question 2. Why do countries trade with each other? Countries trade because of differences in resources, technology, and cost. No country can produce everything it needs efficiently. Question 3. What is the fundamental basis of trade? The fundamental basis is the difference in price and cost of production between countries. Question 4. Who gave the theory of absolute advantage? Adam Smith, in his famous book, The Wealth of Nations. Question 5. What is absolute advantage? It is the ability of a country to produce a good using fewer resources like labor than another country. Question 6. According to Smith, when should a country export a good? When it can produce that good more cheaply than any other country. Question 7. What is the main limitation of Smith's theory? It cannot explain trade if one country is better at producing everything and the other country is worse at everything. Question 8. Who introduced the theory of competitive advantage? David Ricardo in 1817. Question 9. What is competitive advantage? It means a country should specialize in producing goods where its relative efficiency is highest, even if it does not have an absolute advantage. Question 10. What is the labor theory of value used by Ricardo? It assumes that the value or price of a good is determined solely by the amount of labor required to produce it. Question 11. Can trade happen if one country is more efficient in all goods? Yes, according to Ricardo, as long as the ratio of cost differs between the two countries. Question 12. What did J.S.Mills add to Ricardo's theory? Ricardo explained why trade happens. Mill explained at what price or terms of trade happens. Question 13. What is reciprocal demand? It is the intensity of demand by one country for the other country's product. Question 14. How are the terms of trade determined in Mill's theory? The equilibrium price will settle at a point where the value of exports of one country equals the value of imports from the other. Question 15. What is an offer curve? It is a curve that shows the quantity of imports a country demands in exchange for the various quantities of its exports. Question 16. Who developed the offer curve analysis? Alfred Marshall and Francis Edgeworth. Question 17. Where is the equilibrium point in an offer curve diagram? It is at the intersection point where the offer curves of the two trading countries meet. Question 18. What does a shift in an offer curve indicate? A shift indicates a change in countries' willingness to trade, demand for import. Question 19. How did Haberler refine the classical theory? He replaced the labor theory of value with the opportunity cost theory. Question 20. What is opportunity cost in trade? The amount of one good, example wheat, that must be given up to produce one more unit of another good, example cloth. What is the production possibility curve? A curve showing the maximum combinations of two goods a country can produce with its given resources. Question 22. What are the three types of opportunity cost Haberler discussed? Constant opportunity cost, increasing opportunity cost, and decreasing opportunity cost. Question 23. What is the Heckscher-Ohlin theory also known as? The modern theory of international trade or the factor proportions theory. Question 24. What is the core idea of the Heckscher-Ohlin theory? A country will export goods that use its abundant factor, labor or capital, and import goods that use its scarce factor. Question 25. How does Heckscher critique classical theory? He argued that the cause of comparative advantage lies in differences in factor endowments or resources rather than just labor efficiency. Question 26. What are factors of production? Mainly land, labor, and capital. Question 27. What is factor abundance? It refers to whether a country has more labor relative to capital, labor abundant, or more capital relative to labor, that is capital abundant. Question 28. What is the main difference between Smith and Ricardo? Smith focuses on absolute advantage, Ricardo focuses on relative or comparative advantage. What are terms of trade? The ratio of export prices to import prices. It shows how many imports a country gets for a unit of its exports. What is gains from trade? The extra consumption or welfare of a country enjoys by participating in trade compared to being isolated. Question 31. Define autarky. A state of self-sufficiency where a country does not engage in international trade. What is a small country in international trade? A country that cannot influence world prices regardless of how much it trades. Question 33. Why is Ricardo's theory called a supply side theory? Because it focuses only on production cost, that is supply, and ignores demand. Why is Mill's theory called a demand side theory? Because it emphasizes how the strength of demand determines the final trade price. What does the slope of production possibility curve represent? It represents the opportunity cost of producing one good in terms of the other. What is factor intensity? It refers to the proportion of labor versus capital used to produce a specific good. Example, steel is capital intensive. In Heckscher-Rowland theory, what happens to factor prices after trade? Factor prices tend to equalize between countries. Factor price equalization theorem. What is the Leontief paradox? An empirical finding that the US, a capital abundant country, exported labor intensive goods which contradicted the Heckscher-Rowland theory. What is a trade triangle? A geometric representation in PPC diagram showing the amount of exports, imports, and the terms of trade. What is the meaning of 2 into 2 into 1 model? It means 2 countries, 2 commodities, and 1 factor of production, that is labor, usually used in Ricardo's model. Question 41. What is free trade? Trade without any government restrictions like tariff, quotas, or duties. Question 42. What is the impact of a high reciprocal demand for a country? If other country have a high demand for your goods, your terms of trade will improve. What is the shape of the offer curve? It is usually bowed towards the axis of the good the country exports. Question 44. Why did Haberler criticize Ricardo? Because labor is not the only factor of production and labor is not homogeneous. It varies in skill. Question 45. What is comparative cost difference? It is the difference in the ratio of domestic prices between two countries. Question 46. Who wrote the theory of international trade? Gottfried Haberler. Question 47. What is specialization in trade? A country focusing all its resources on producing a specific good where it has an advantage. Question 48. What is internal trade? Trade that happens within the boundaries of a single country, that is interregional trade. Question 49. Is international trade a zero-sum game? No. Classical economists believe it is a positive sum game where all participating countries can win. Question 50. What is the final conclusion of the Heckscher-Rowland theory? Trade is basically an exchange of factors. A country exports its abundant factors in the form of finished goods. तो ये थे इंटरनेशनल ट्रेड के टॉप 50 क्वेश्चंस जो अक्सर वाइवा में पूछे जाते हैं। आई होप अब आपका कॉन्सेप्ट क्लियर हो गया होगा। वीडियो पसंद आई हो तो लाइक बटन ज़रूर दबाएं और अपने दोस्तों के साथ शेयर करें ताकि उनकी भी हेल्प हो सके। ऐसे ही सिंपल ट्यूटोरियल्स के लिए चैनल को सब्सक्राइब करना ना भूलें। मिलते हैं अगली वीडियो में, तब तक के लिए ऑल द बेस्ट फॉर योर एग्जाम्स।